Good morning. This is the next video in my series of Adam's Laws. We are on to Adam's Law number 3. And that's dare to dream. Dream big, dream small. That's your choice. But always have a dream. If you want to be a professor, be a teacher. If you want to be an astronaut. If you want to be prima ballerina, if you want to be an NFL star, if you want to be anything that you want to be, dream it and dream big. But you also need to make sure that you set tangible goals that you can attain, things that you can see that help drive you forward. That's something that is important when you dream. Some people say, "Oh yeah, I dream of winning the lottery." Well, you have to play first to win, and the odds of winning are pretty slim. But if your goal is to, say, be a doctor, MD, get your, pre-med, and then go on to medical school. Those are all attainable goals, and then you become an MD. If you want to be an engineer, you learn it, you study it, you find your trade, you find your passion. If you want to be an artist practice. I mean, take a look at Pablo Picasso. He went through various different phases in his artwork, and some of it is fantastic, some of it is odd but beautiful. If you want to be a writer, you have to continue to write. I love the works of Edgar Allan Poe. One of his poems, El Dorado, is one of my favorites. If you want to be an actor, you have to learn how to act. You have to become who you want. If you want to do whatever, if that's what you want, then you dream for it. You go for it. Dream isn't just what you have at night that you may or may not remember in the morning. And when you set goals for it, you can become what you want to become. And make sure that you don't have your dreams turn into nightmares because you didn't do positive progressive steps to get the job done. My dream is to get my PhD. I have a 4-year degree from Ferris State University, so there's a shout out to my alma mater there in Big Rapids, Michigan. And my degree program unfortunately no longer exists, which for me is kind of sad because I think it was probably one of the better degree programs that I've ever been involved in. But now I'm looking towards my master's degree and then ultimately my PhD, which has been a long-term dream of mine. I'm 17 years in the making to start to go back to grad school. My goals currently are to prepare for the GRE and get my references and everything together so then I can get into grad school and get my master's in experimental psychology. Kind of odd seeing as how my background is predominantly engineering. But I have been a manager or supervisor for a long time, and ultimately I want to get my PhD in organizational psychology to help businesses grow and become exactly what they want to be. I work for a company right now that wants to be the best in the world at what they do, and they have a ton of potential. And I think that they can do exactly that if they start taking the appropriate steps and continue to take the steps that they've already started taking to become exactly what they are, and that's the best in class, best in their business. And then down the road, there's no telling what I want to do with a PhD, but education is important. So that's one of my dreams, is to get my PhD. And I also dreamed of being a musician. I'm not a musician, not by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, my son is a musician in the family, and my wife and I are so proud of him for the choices that he made. So then, he can progress in his dream, and take the steps. Right now he plays the violin and the viola, and he wants to learn how to play the guitar, and that's his dream. He also wants to be a large animal veterinarian, which is awesome, I think. Because he loves animals. We have a couple dogs, and he absolutely loves them to death. You know, um, so it's good to have dreams, and we're helping him establish the short term goals so he can see and progress. Because if you don't have short term goals, one of the problems that you come across, especially if you have established dreams, is the fact that you lose track of what the end game is, what the goal is to become. I have friends that are so talented in what they do. One of my friends from college, his name is Mike Muma. You can find him online. He's an artist. He's done stuff for Palladium games and things like that. He has a ton of talent, and if given the right opportunity, I think he could attain his goal, and that's drawing right for comic books. I have friends that have a passion for helping others, and they do it professionally. They're professional counselors and things like that. I have people that want to help build our country up to being the best in the world, and work on infrastructure and improve our infrastructure, improve our science, and improve everything that makes us great. And if they didn't have a dream, didn't have aspirations of doing those things, then they wouldn't be moving in the directions that they are. Make sure that if you have a dream, it's also that you want to obtain. Make sure that you have a passion for it, because sometimes the steps can become very tedious. And when you set your goals, make sure that they're short-term goals and you have long-term goals, and everything builds on each other. Have a plan, which is the next topic I want to talk about. I won't do it in this video because I think 8 minutes is more than enough of me at any given time. So I'm going to watch my timing very closely in regards to that, because everyone has something to do today, and a 30-minute lecture on how things run in my mind isn't necessarily what you want to hear every day. If you have thoughts on this topic, feel free to make a comment and add your 2 cents. My voice is not the only voice in the world. My voice is based on my experiences and the way I've seen things and the things that I've worked towards. So for everybody out there on this lovely Saturday morning that have things to do, have a wonderful day, have a safe day, and I'll see you next time.